Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got another episode of Becoming Dangerous in Excel, and we're looking at some lookup functions today. We have VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, XLOOKUP, index match, and choose. As always, I have in the description and in the comment section the timestamps for each one of these topics. So if you know which topic you're interested in seeing, you could jump there and see exactly where in the video we talk about that topic. Okay, so now on to our topics, and you can see here we have a little bit of data. We've got some plant categories and the pricing for them. I'm currently creating a inventory spreadsheet for a client, and this is some of the data they have, so I just pulled it from there. But to go along, what are lookup functions and how do they work? So what lookup functions do is they allow us to put in an input, and based off of the selection of cells that we have, they give us a corresponding output. So let's start off with VLOOKUP first, and VLOOKUP stands for vertical lookup. So we'll do equals VLOOKUP, we'll tab that out, and it's asking us for a lookup value. So what we're going to look up, or what we want to see or find in this table is, let's use this first, the conversation piece. You see conversation pieces up here. So we have our lookup value that we want to find. We're going to put a comma and then the table array. Table array is this entire table array. So let's highlight or select all of that. And then another comma and then the column index number. So Excel sees this first column as a 1 and the second column as a 2. So we'll put the 2 there, close that parentheses, and you can see that it's giving us the exact price for the conversation piece. Something I also did here was I put in a list here. So we've got a drop down list, and I can pick all the different plants in our table here. And you can see as we pick different plants, our price is going to dynamically change based off of our input. So our input will be the white gumbo, and then we actually have our price here that corresponds to that input. So that's VLOOKUP. And we also have HLOOKUP here. So VLOOKUP was vertical lookup, and then HLOOKUP is going to be horizontal lookup. So the same thing that we did here, you can also do on a horizontal table. And actually, let's go ahead and show that. I can do just like we learned last time. We can do transpose, and let's highlight that. And okay, so HLOOKUP, like I said, just like vertical lookup except horizontal. So we'll do equals HLOOKUP, tab that out. We want our lookup value, same, the white gumbo, and comma, and then our table array, our entire table array, and then now the row index number. Notice how it says row index number and not column index number. VLOOKUP uses column index number, HLOOKUP uses row index number. So we want the second row, put our parentheses, and same exact thing. And let's go here, make sure everything is working. We pick the pink ruffle, 1337. Same up here, 1337. Something to note about the VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP, you can only use the input that's to the left or to the top of the data that you're actually wanting the output to be, if that made sense. So like in this instance, I can't come in here and for my lookup selection, put the price and then expect VLOOKUP to give me the category in the plant. It only goes to the right. So that's one thing about VLOOKUP. You can only have your outputs on the right hand side, and same thing with HLOOKUP. You can only have your outputs underneath the inputs. So on to the next one though. The next one is XLOOKUP, and XLOOKUP works a little bit different. I like using XLOOKUP a whole lot more than the VLOOKUP lookups, and XLOOKUP can actually go either way. So I can look at information that's to the right of my cells as well as information to the left. So see here, it's asking us for a lookup value, same as the other two lookup functions. So we'll click on our lookup value and comma, and now it's asking us for the lookup array. So this way we don't need the whole array highlighted or selected. We can just use this left one and then comma and then now it's asking us for the return array what we want it to give back to us. So we'll highlight that and put our parentheses, and same exact thing. But now notice what we do on the other way around. So let's look at XLOOKUP again. We're going to do, instead of selecting the plant category as our lookup, we're going to pick the 13, where is it? Right here. So we're looking, well, let's just say we're putting it on that. So we're looking up 1337 in this lookup array, and we want the return array to be here. And it's going to give us the pink ruffle. So see how XLOOKUP, you can go either way. Your information can be on the left-hand side or the right-hand side. It doesn't matter. Whereas VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP, they are sensitive to where the information actually is in reference to your inputs. Okay, so that's a general overview of how VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, and XLOOKUP work. They're very versatile in terms of XLOOKUP. I really like that a whole lot more than the other two. I rarely use the other two. But XLOOKUP is extremely helpful whenever you're going through larger data sets and wanting to pick out certain information based off of a general input that you put in. Okay, now on to index. So let's see what Excel tells us about index. So index says returns a value or reference to the cell at the intersection of a particular row and column in a given range. So we have index highlighted. Let's tab that out. And the array that we want, let's use this array here. This is just like the inventory numbers of all the different plants and the capacities of each plant. So we have our array, and let's put a comma there, and our row number. So let's say row number, this is row number 1, and then row number 2. So let's pick the 2, and then the column number. So again, this is column number 1 and column number 2. So let's price 2, and then close parentheses, and it gives us 8. And of course, we could see here column 1, column 2, row 1, row 2, and it gives us the 8. Okay, so that was index. Now let's look at match. So what does Excel tell us about match? So it says returns the relative position of an item in an array that matches a specified value in a specified order. So we've got match highlighted. Let's tab that out. And again, it's asking us to, for the lookup value. So let's just say that we want to look up this conversation piece, and we want to look it up in this array here. And then the match type, we want it as an exact match. So we'll press 0, close our parentheses, and now we see that it's 2. So it's actually giving us the row number of this, this information in our column here. So you can see that conversation piece is 2. And if we change this, let's say we change it to the fashion azalea, it's going to jump to 3. And then and so on. So that's how match works, and it could also, so it works vertically like that as well as horizontally. So let's do it the other way, where we're looking at our capacities instead. So match, we're looking up tray in this lookup array, and we want our match type to be exact. Close our parentheses, and we've got 2, right? Column 1, column 2. Same thing here. If we choose different ones, now we're in column 3, column 4, and so on. So index and match are pretty helpful, but where they really come into play and really help me out a lot is whenever you use them together. So let's get rid of these two. And you can see how up here we've got our table, and it tells us our plant categories here and our capacities here. But we also have the actual amount of inventory that we have. And instead of us saying, you know, okay, let's see the conversation piece, okay, 30 gallon, you know, we can see this somewhat easily right here. But whenever you've got massive amounts of data that take up, you know, the entirety of your screen, it's a lot harder to actually pick out the exact inventory based off of the columns and the rows. So what we're going to do is we're going to use index match together. So we're going to say equals index, and our array is this entire array. our row number. Now, notice our row number now, instead of actually typing out the row number, we're going to say match. So now what? Now we've got the row. So in our rows, we have all this different information here, and we want to pick out the plant in our row. So let's click on that value there as our lookup value. Our lookup array is going to be this entire array. We want to look for this in our lookup array. And we also want that to be an exact match. So we're going to press 0. And then we're going to close that parentheses. And now we're going to press comma again, because now we need our column. So we have our row figured out. Now we need our column. So our column, we're going to do match again. Okay. So now we have match in there. Now what are we looking up in our columns up here? We want to find the capacity within this. So we have our size that we're looking up and the array that we want to look for it in. We're going to pick this entire selection, and then we're going to press the comma again and 0 for exact match. We're going to close that parenthesis and then close the parenthesis again so that we have 128. So we've got hardy gardenia azaleas. Where is that at? Right here. And the 2 gallon, 128. Yep. Let's make this a little simpler for us. Let's say the conversation piece, 2 gallon. Oops. Conversation piece, 2 gallon, 12. Oops. 16. Exactly how we wanted it. So index match can save you a lot of time whenever you're trying to find information in a large table like this based off of the rows and the columns. Okay, and then we can actually put quantity here just to let us know that that's the quantities that we found. Okay, so now on to our last lesson of the choose function. Okay, so now that we're going to our choose function, let's see what Excel tells us about choose. Let's see. Okay, so chooses a value or action to perform from a list of values based on an index number. Okay, so it uses index numbers. We know that. But okay, so I've got some scenarios here. We've got best case, the base case, and worst case scenarios, and we want to run these scenarios just to see how our numbers would look based off of each scenario, basically. So how do we quickly choose our different scenarios so that we can see everything quickly, you know, without having to do a whole lot of input on our side? So we're going to start off with our revenues. So we have revenues and the cost and then the net income or loss here. And then you can see here, I've got formulas here to just a sum formula for the revenues and the costs. So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to come here in our revenues section and do choose, and then the index number. Index number is going to be this scenario number that we're in. So we're going to choose that, and we don't want that to change. So let's press F4 and lock that in there. And now, what's our first value number, or our first value that we want to put in? It's going to be our best case. See it? We've got best case listed as 1. Okay, so second value is going to be the base case, and then third value is going to be worst case. Now let's close that parenthesis, and we've got 50,000, and we're in our scenario 1. Let's make sure that works. We're going to do scenario 2, 25,000, and scenario 3, 12,500, just like how we wanted it. What we can easily do is let's just I should be able to slide this over, and let's make sure scenario 1, 50, 125, 250, exactly how I wanted it. Let's slide this down. That's not right. Okay, so we need to do a little bit of work on this one, but we've just got to change up some selections here. Okay, we're in scenario 1, 5,000. Okay, now let's scroll that over. All right, and just like that, we can see the different scenarios and how they'll affect our bottom line. So you can kind of play around with this and use it for your own analysis and different things that you're doing. But for this is just a simple example to show you how that works. So yeah, that concludes today's video. We've done a few different things. Some of them very useful. XLOOKUP, index match. Choose you may use every now and then, but I use XLOOKUP and index match a whole lot, and they make things a whole lot easier and a lot quicker for me to filter through different data sets. But that's all we're going to cover for this video, and I hope y'all learned a lot. Some of these, the syntax for some of these formulas may be a little confusing, but don't give up on them, especially the index match. That one's a little bit tricky, especially with the match functions in here. The match functions, don't forget to put that 0 in there, the end for the match type. That means it's an exact match, because if you don't put those zeros in there, it'll really throw off your data. But I hope y'all learned a lot today, and I'll see y'all next time. Thanks for being here.